Good afternoon, everybody. This is Al's Topic Mixer. Um, you can always hit me up on Big Al's Topic Mixer on Facebook or Big Al's Topic Mixer on Twitter. Love to hear from you. Also, you can comment below on this video. I'm sorry today, this video is kind of random. I've got several different subjects I like to talk about. Subject of sports. Let's talk about college football. College football. Yeah, that's my favorite subject of all. Let's talk about college football. My favorite team, UAB Blazers. Go Blazers! If any of my Blazer fans out there watching this video, go Blazers! Okay, they had a great year last year, so I want to talk about that. They won the Conference USA Championship. They are a group of 5 school, and everybody say, oh, that's a mediocre league, yada, 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 yada. Hey, guess what? They played some great ball last year. They won their bowl game against Northern Illinois, which was one of the top defensive teams in the country last year. So, to that. Anyway, talking about the college football, let me give you my top 5 predictions for this year. Of course, we're going to go with number 1, Clemson, number 2, Alabama. Yeah, that's my number 1 and number 2. After that, it gets kind of murky. Let's throw in Oklahoma. Michigan. Michigan may come up this year if they can beat a big team. Problem is, for Michigan the past couple of years, they've struggled against the top 10. So we'll see how they do this year. Ohio State, they might do all right. We'll see how that goes this year too. Outside of that, we got players that could be in the game like LSU, Florida, and Auburn. Auburn's got to find a quarterback, get their defense together. Auburn's got a lot of rebuilding to do. That's all I'm going to say about Auburn. They got some work to do. Alabama, well, they're going to try to make up for last year, and I'm sure that's going to be an interesting national championship game this year if Alabama gets back to the national championship game. It's always wide open in the SEC. I don't know what's going to happen to the Pac-10. The Pac-10 has been shut out for years because they keep beating each other up. Maybe this year they'll have a breakthrough team like Oregon. But again, USC probably will beat them. So Oregon, we'll see what happens between USC, Oregon, and Washington this year. One of those teams has got to break out in that league. Other hopefuls this year, and I know we won't see them, is Virginia Tech, maybe Miami. But Miami's got a new coach, so I'm not looking too good at that. In the group of 5, let's talk about the group of 5. The AAC has, American Athletic Conference has a lot of really good teams. So, Houston's probably going to be good this year. Expect UCF to continue to be a powerhouse. Memphis is very good. So, there's going to be something to watch this year in that league. Other group of 5 teams, like I said, Conference USA, UAB, North Texas, maybe La Tech this year. Definitely Southern Miss. Watch out for Southern Miss. They're looking for vengeance against us, but I don't think it's going to happen. Sorry, Golden Eagles. This ain't your year yet. This ain't your time. This is our time right now. Definitely Marshall. Conference USA's biggest team is probably Marshall right now. A powerhouse in the team. Middle Tennessee State is the rebuilding year, but they might have a decent year this year. So look for them. Florida Atlantic, Florida International. Watch those 2 teams as well. Let's see what happens. We still have a SEC coach floating around here in a couple of those places. Troy is probably going to be big in the Sun Belt. The Mountain West, Boise State, Nevada, you know what I'm saying? So those are the teams you got to look out for. And like I said, well, speaking of the Sun Belt, Appalachian State's big too. Troy, Georgia Southern, wow. There's some teams that came up in that league. So we're going to see what happens. And we've got some teams in the Power 5 versus the Group of 5 that may be on the upset alert. Let's see what happens this year. I would love UAB to beat Tennessee. We'll see if that happens. It's in November. I hate when a Group of 5 team plays a Power 5 team late. But it could be a good game. Just saying. You never know. We'll see. The NBA Finals. Let's talk about that. Well, guess what's going on with the NBA Finals? The Warriors. Can you believe it? The Warriors are down 3-1 against the Toronto Raptors. Wow, it's kind of a head scratcher. We're talking about the team with Durant, with Curry, with Thomas, with Iguodala, with Green, with Curtis. What? I can't really explain what's going on. Maybe some of the bench players aren't that good this year. It may be that the team's down. It may be the fact that Horace Grant is out. That could be a huge factor because last year he was a huge factor in the NBA Finals. He's a really good player, and all I can say is maybe that's why they're not having a great season this year. Curry's missing the threes. He's not hitting them like he normally would. That's true. Thomas has been hurt. There's a lot of injuries on the team. There are players that are playing hurt, including Curtis right now. So what can I say? Wow. That series is like, wow. Hey, maybe Drake did have some effect in the first grade when he told Green that, you're trash. But Green's not trash. He's a good player. He's a good defensive player. He's one of the best defensive players in the NBA right now. He probably will be and they'll probably end up making him a Hall of Fame player as a defensive player. He can also hit threes, So he's an off guard. He's good on assists. I don't know. It just seems like they don't have their act together like they normally would. So they're down 3-1. Let's see if they make that big comeback, because it's possible that they will make the big comeback in the next team. And here's the other thing that people are talking about. They're saying that this is their last year as a super team. It might be. They might be breaking the team up, but I got a feeling a lot of those guys are going to want to come back if they lose. And they're going to do everything they can to try to keep that team together for a few more years. The team is young, not old. I mean, it's not that old. It's a pretty young team. So I expect to see some of those players around for a little bit longer. And I think it will be around for a little bit while longer. More serious subject. Let's go talk about world politics again. Let's talk about Saudis and Iranians. The Saudis and Iranians are competing in the Middle East to be the powerhouse in the Middle East. So it's basically like a Cold War between Saudis and Arabians, Shias and I believe Sunnis. Sunnis are mostly in Saudi Arabia. Shias are in Iran, and it's a big competition between the two of them right now. Iraq for the longest was the battleground between the two of them, which it still is to a certain degree, not as it was. Iran kind of has a little more control in Iraq now, and with the Sunnis being the minority there. Yemen is the other battleground, but let's talk about this. So apparently, the Saudis have decided that they need more ballistic missiles. They need more ballistic missiles to defend themselves against Iran. So they're increasing their budget. And guess who they're calling on to help them with their ballistic missiles? The Chinese, not the United States, because the United States is against the proliferation of missiles in that region. But our wonderful president still calls Saudi Arabia one of our best allies. And some of my friends would talk about that. The Saudis have been kind of wish-washy as far as allies go. They haven't been the best of allies always. As far as signing treaties to stop any fighting against our buddies Israel, we need a big buddy, a friend in the area to stop any wars against any attacks on Israel. So we've tried to be friendly to places like Egypt, Israel. We've given billions of American dollars to these guys. So now here they go. They're building these ballistic missiles. They may even be working on underground nuclear weapons, something else the United States does not want to see in Saudi Arabia. But America, again, has always called them an ally. We have military bases in Saudi Arabia. They were our allies in the first Gulf War. In the Gulf War, and in Iran-Iraq War, we used their bases as well to launch attacks against Iraq. Again, they've also been accused in the past of supporting terrorism on the ground. they'll take American dollars, and those American dollars will end up in terrorist hands. So this is things you have to think about when we're talking about Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is not the best allies in the world. Israel's not the best ally in the world, and Netanyahu right now is in trouble. Talking about world politics, Netanyahu is on the outs with his party. He couldn't consolidate his government, so guess what? They have to have elections again, and there's a chance that he's going to be put up on corruption charges. So the Middle East is kind of wacky right now. There's a lot going on there. Iran is acting a fool. America's got our troops there. I'm worried that those sabotage ships had nothing really to do with Iran, but more like a setup from the Saudis than anything to try to get American troops near to bring more American troops to the Gulf. So that may be the case with that. And I'm hoping this doesn't escalate any farther, and that eventually somehow we can solve this. But I think America really doesn't understand the Middle East well enough to deal with this situation. And that's the biggest issue I have with that. I also want to add to my video this one thing. June 6, 1944, 75 years ago from this past week, young Americans landed on the beach at Normandy under a hail of gunfire, machine gun fire, of horrific explosions, death, destruction. 4,000 Americans lost their lives right there on that beach. Not to mention the other pair who parachuted in the night before who lost their lives. All in the cause of freedom. When they landed on the beach at Normandy, the enormous task ahead of them was to free Europe from the Nazi scourge. At that time, they were occupying France, they occupied Belgium, they occupied most of all of Western Europe. Actually, all of Western Europe. And this was the Allies' chance to break that scourge. And on that day, that small victory, which they only ended up 5 miles into the coastline on that day, turned into the biggest victory in the history of mankind, as they drove all the way to Germany. And in 1945, they ended that by the siege of Berlin, along with Russia, who was also coming from the east. This is the one time when the world united against a greater evil. And it may happen again in the future, but I wanted to bring that up, and I wanted to add that to my topic mixer. I edited this part in later. But again, if you're watching Topic Mixer, just remember those who perished in that. And there are still those who are still alive. They went over there this year to celebrate that day and that event. And I wanted to also acknowledge them and honor them for their service to this country. There's not much else I can do. I mean, what can you do for people who've done something like virtually give their lives for you? With that being said, I want to thank all of you for tuning in and watching this video. Again, this is Topic Mixer, and I hope that you're picking up on this. If you're not watching it on YouTube, you'll see it on Facebook at Big Al's Topic Mixer, also on Twitter. And I hope you comment below and leave a like, and please subscribe.